amount of cars, possibly getting people to leave the cars at home and come by rail or park and ride into the area. But basically, a lot of people are just not prepared to get out of the cars. They have a love affair with the car, and really, it may be the case that that's not going to work, and we have to try and stronger measures to actually stop people coming.
More and more people that we talk to and that we listen to are saying that really traffic has got to be controlled. There's got to be better management of traffic. And it will not surprise us if not far into the future we're talking about charging people to come onto some of the roads in the national park.
So how many people can get to the Peak District National Park? Well, 17 million people live within 60 miles of the park. That's more than live within 60 miles of London. Here's how many visitors came into the park in 1963. And here's how many in 1995. How many come by car and how many by public transport? Well, this many come by public transport. And this many come by car. And this is how all the traffic in the national park has increased since 1980. You got any data on pollution? Well, this is the level of air pollution in the park. And this is the level in central London. And how much of the ground has been damaged? There are over 3,000 kilometres of footpaths in the Peak Park, and 10% of them are unusable. The cost of maintaining footpaths has gone up 200% since 1990.
The last clip was full of interesting and valuable information about national parks that could be used in many different ways to answer a wide range of questions in the GCSE geography exam. Here's an example of an exam question. Carefully study this map, which shows the location of national parks. 1. Describe the location of national parks in England and Wales. 2. Suggest one reason why there are no national parks in the southeast of England. Pause the tape and try to answer these questions. Here's the answer to question 1. Most of the national parks are to be found in the north and west of England and Wales. There are 3 in Wales. 1 is a coastal park, Pembrokeshire, and 2 are in upland areas of Wales, Snowdonia and the Brecon Beacons. There is only 1 in the east of England, the Norfolk Broads. Only 2 are not in upland areas, Norfolk Broads and the New Forest. Exmoor and Dartmoor are upland moors in the southwest of England. All of the parks are of outstanding natural beauty and away from large urban areas. The Peak District is the most accessible for more people. For question 2, your answer should be something like this. There are areas of outstanding natural beauty in the south and southeast of England. However, the southeast is more developed commercially and has a higher density of population. More of the land is farmed. Land values are higher in the southeast, and there is more demand from other land users. Here's another example of an exam question. This time, it asks you to look at the cartoon and answer 2 questions. Pause the tape again and try to answer the questions. Your answers should include some of the following. The cartoon shows the pressure on countryside areas in national parks as a result of the number of visitors travelling by car. It shows the problem faced by honeypot sites. So many people visit these areas that their attractiveness can be destroyed. People visit these areas for their natural beauty and the peace and quiet of the countryside, but end up stuck in traffic. Problems resulting from the number of visitors in cars might also include traffic congestion, noise, air pollution, and impacts on the visual quality of areas caused by the eyesores created by parked cars. Planners could adopt a number of different solutions. Restrict access at certain times of the year, ban cars from congested areas, one-way routes to control the volume of traffic, develop different routes, develop alternative sites in the national parks to attract visitors and take pressure away from popular areas, develop alternative sites near the towns and cities, charge for the use of certain popular routes at busy times and for parking, park and ride schemes to reduce traffic, landscaped parking areas screened by trees. Environmental issues can also occur on a much larger scale, as this final case study will show. It's about the Aral Sea in Central Asia, and it will provide you with an excellent example of the unintended impacts of people's actions and activities. It shows how these actions and activities can set in motion natural processes that can have catastrophic consequences for both people and the environment. The result is that a huge inland sea has actually been drying up. Make notes on these important facts as you watch the clip coming up. The location of the Aral Sea and the main features, physical geography and climate of this region. The reasons for the irrigation project. Some features of the irrigation schemes. The benefits of the irrigation schemes and who gains from them. The negative and unintended impacts of these irrigation schemes on the environment and the natural processes responsible for bringing about these changes. How economic activities and the lives of people in other areas have been affected. Pause the tape and make sure you've written down these points. You'll find it really useful to have an atlas map of Central Asia in front of you while you watch the clip, not least to help you recognize the names of some of the places mentioned. You should also remember that a number of important changes have taken place in the political geography of this part of the world over the last 15 years. The film was made in 1991, when the former USSR had become the Commonwealth of Independent States. Since then, there have been yet more changes. However, two of the main areas featured in this clip are still known as Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan.
This used to be one of the world's great inland seas, the fourth largest on Earth, the Aral Sea in the Commonwealth of Independent States, the country that was once the Soviet Union. For many years now, the Aral has been drying up. In places, the shoreline is 80 kilometers from where it used to be. At this rate, the sea will have all but vanished in 20 years from now. And it's a man-made environmental disaster. In this program, we'll be looking at how it came about. To understand the story of the Aral Sea, we first need to know something about the environment in this huge chunk of the Earth's surface. When it was known as the Soviet Union and ruled by the Communist Party, the government saw the environment that stood in the way of progress, something to be conquered at all costs. And in a way, it's easy to see why, in such a massive country, that nature was seen as a kind of opponent. The great development plans reached even to here, the deserts of Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan near the Aral Sea. The plan for here, worked out by the government 2,000 kilometers away in Moscow, was to put the desert to work. Cotton would be grown on huge irrigation schemes using water taken out of two rivers, the Sir Darya and the Amu Darya, both of which flowed into the Aral Sea. The keystones of the project are the dams, which direct water from the rivers into irrigation canals. The quantities of water involved are huge, first because cotton is a thirsty crop, and second because in the desert heat, close to half the water evaporates on its way to and in the fields. Yet, thirsty for water or not, come the September harvest, the desert blooms. So in a way, the plan put together by Moscow worked. Cotton now grows where nothing grew before. In fact, so much cotton grows that jobs for the local people depend very closely on this one single crop. The irrigated areas produce 3/4 of the cotton used in the Commonwealth of Independent States. In this way too, the plan has apparently worked. If the cotton projects hadn't been set up, millions would be spent on buying cotton from abroad. So valuable is the crop, it's been given the name white gold. In late October, when the cotton is stacked high along the roadsides of Uzbekistan, it's easy to see how the people in Moscow who'd planned all this might well be sitting back saying they'd done what they set out to do. Unfortunately, however, nobody until recently was allowed to point out what went wrong. One trouble was that cotton needed a lot more help to grow in the desert than was first thought. Not only water, but large amounts of chemicals were and still are used to make it grow properly. They're all poisonous, some deadly. Something else that spelled trouble ahead was that the farms, all owned by the government, paid nothing for the irrigation water. It seems amazing with something as precious as water in the desert, but no check was kept on how much was being used. The farms got careless and huge quantities were wasted, left to stagnate in pools choked with chemicals from the fields. But although many people may have been worried, the government at that time allowed no criticism. As more and more water was taken out of the rivers for irrigation, less and less reached the Aral Sea. And in a place where it hardly ever rains, the effect has been disastrous. Cut off from the water that feeds it, the Aral has shrunk. Ships no longer float. One-time seaside villages are now in the middle of a desert. The Sir Daria River has dwindled to a trickle and hardly reaches the Aral at all. The water that's left is full of chemicals and salt. For mile after mile, the seabed is exposed, broken only by what used to be fishing villages. Fishermen now don't fish in the sea, but in what's left of the Sir Daria River Delta, the only place fish can live. Just 4 out of 38 kinds of fish are left. In the town of Aralsk, once a thriving port, the rusting docks are now stranded 50 kilometers from the sea. Aralsk has a severe water shortage. As the sea level has gone down, wells have dried up or been poisoned with salt and chemicals. The puddles that are left are contaminated too and are spreading typhoid disease. The number of people with the disease has gone up by 29 times. All the town's drinking water must now be brought from 150 kilometers away and collected from public pumps. "15,000 people have left Aralsk since the sea started to move away. The poor quality of water has also hit food supplies. Aralsk's market has practically nothing for sale anymore. It's like a chain reaction. Poor water leads to poor crops and poor food, which leads to the next thing, poor health. One of the local newspapers has reported that 83% of the Aral's children have some kind of illness. The poor health comes not only from a bad diet and contaminated water, but also because mother's breast milk is now affected by chemicals from the local water and food. In this story of one problem leading to another, there's one that's travelling further than all the rest. The whole region is heating up. The sea used to keep things cool, but now the weather station is showing not only that the air is getting drier, but also steadily hotter. The climate of Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan is changing.
Lots of facts were covered in the clip. Here's a summary of the main ones. Massive amounts of water are being used from the Sir Daria and Amu Daria rivers to irrigate land in Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. The land is used to grow cotton. The improvements in these cotton crops has made some people very wealthy in these areas. As a result of this irrigation, the Aral Sea receives less water from these rivers. The Aral Sea has therefore been drying up, and the climate of the region has been affected. Vegetation and wildlife have also suffered. Maynak was once a port. It is now several kilometers from the water. The economy of places around the Aral Sea has been badly affected. Water quality has declined as the salt content of the sea has increased. Salt and dust storms have affected areas around the Aral Sea. In some areas, people's health has been affected. This map shows how the Aral Sea has shrunk as a result of irrigation. There was a lot of useful information about the Aral Sea issue in the clip you've just seen. This is an excellent case study to revise for your GCSE geography exam, as it could be used to answer a variety of different questions. To make the most of your revision, you should learn the information you have in such a way that you can adapt it to suit a variety of different questions on the same subject. Get hold of some past papers and practice answering as many different exam questions as you can. Make the most of this program too. Rewind the clips until you're completely happy that you've picked out as much information as you can from each one. It will really help in your exam if you know your case studies inside out. Here are a few examples of exam questions which you should try to answer. You could use the Aral Sea as your case study, or one of your own. 1. Describe an environmental problem that you have studied. A. Name the area that was affected. B. Describe how the area was affected. C. Explain how human actions may have caused this problem or made it worse. Two, name an area in the world that you have studied where changes in farming have taken place. Now describe it under the following headings. A, the influence of physical factors on farming. B, changes in farming methods. C, the influence of these changes on the environment of the area. Three, water is one of the Earth's most important resources. A, locate and describe a development where water plays an important part. B, choose one group of people affected by the development and state whether they have benefited or not and how. Now you have watched the clips and worked through some of the exercises in this section, you should have two very good case studies on environmental issues that you might be able to use in your GCSE geography exam. Make sure you know some facts about these issues and that you are aware of the different views about them.
Exams are important. This might sound stupid, but make sure you go to the toilet. Oh, yes! Before anything important. Yeah, that's right. That would be a terrible... Yes. You do... What's in the bucket? Shoes on. He's 500 years old, you know. See what I mean? Yeah.
I basically studied my case studies carefully and chose ones which I knew I could apply to certain questions that they were likely to ask, so that when I went into the exam, I could spend as short time as possible reading through the questions and choosing which ones would be best to answer.
It sometimes amazes me that students have probably spent 2 years drawing all kinds of maps and diagrams during their geography course, and then when they get into the exam, they don't draw any diagrams. So remember, you can use maps and diagrams to get across a lot of information very quickly in an examination.
Often in a geography exam, you're asked to write a question on environmental issues. And here, a lot of students go for sensational journalese rather than absolute facts, particularly when they're writing about something like pollution. What you've also got to remember when you're writing about environmental impact, unless you're asked to write only about the costs, that quite often there are benefits as well. So what you want to make sure is that your answer doesn't have too much bias and that it's full of precise facts, preferably supported by examples.
A good thing to use in geography is a lot of facts and figures, things like population of countries and how many people were killed in drought, things like that. So a good way to remember these is to get parents or friends to test you on them often, and then you find you remember them a lot easier.
It's important that you check the numbers of marks for each question. and the amount you write should relate to that. Too many students write depending on how much they know rather than how many marks they're going to get for the question.
I think my advice to anyone who's revising for exams right now is probably not to get too stressed out about it. Take your time, and there are going to be certain times when you're going to be more receptive to the information you're learning than others, so don't get too upset with yourself when it won't go into your head straight away, you know. Go off and do something else, watch television, read a book, do something that relaxes you, and then come back to it. And good luck.
Congratulations. You should now be feeling more confident about rivers, earthquakes, coastal management, ecosystems and environmental issues, and have plenty of case studies to use. Don't forget that there is another Geography Bite-Size programme covering the growth of cities, cities and their quality of life, economic and industrial change, and weather and climate. If you haven't found it already, here's a reminder of the web address for the GCSE Bite-Size online site. And don't forget that the book will also provide you with revision exercises to do. Good luck in your exam.
Details of all BBC Learning Zone programmes can be found on CFAX pages 630 to 635. Did you know how easy it is to watch almost all your favourite BBC programmes with subtitles? From award-winning drama and comedy to films, sports coverage and the local and national news. You can find subtitles for all sorts of programmes on CFAX page 888. Or if you're a digital viewer, simply select subtitles from the menu. Log on to bbc.co.uk/info for more details.
Hello, welcome to Friday morning on BBC Two. CBBC is on the way in an hour. Before that, we're waking up to CBeebies.
Hello, I'm Poi, and this is CBeebies on BBC Two. Now, where is Sid?
Oh, hello,
Sid?
boy. I'm not too late, am I?
No, no, no. You're here, I'm here. We've got our pyjamas on. It must be the pyjama party.
Fantastic. And I think the Fimbles are here too.
Every girl, every boy, come on, open up your eyes. There's a world right here, full of wonder and surprise.
Let's go and find the Fimbles!
Fimbles, Fimbles, Fimbles.
Where's the Fimbles?
Fimbles, Fimbles, Fimbles. Where's the Fimbles? Sing along with Fimbo, Florrie, and Baby Pond.
Oh, hello.
Oh, hello.
We're dancing.
Oh, Pom dancing.
Oh, come on, Pom. Let's try it again. Let's start off in a nice straight line. Sit. Are you ready for a real good time? Yee-haw! Bend your knees. Bend. Bend. Tap your toes. Tap. Tap. Fingers twinkling.
Twinkling.
Top knots too.
Nuts.
We'll dance around the valley with you. Stripey Pom, But to finish, we turn around like this. Da, da, da.
Pom turn round like this. Da, da, da.
That's it, Pom.
Oh, sorry, look. Ooh, hello, you two. What are you doing?
I'm teaching Pom a new dance, but she keeps forgetting the end.
No, turn around. Yeah.
That's right. Bend, tap, twinkle, twitch, and turn around.
Pom, do it. Look. Bend, tap, tinkle, and twitch.
And turn around.
Turn round. Hooray! You want to do it too.
Bend, tap, twinkle, twitch, and turn around.
Oh, that was really good, Pom. Oh, right. See you later. Right, first, I'll go to my giggling garden to see the flowers, and then... Did you hear that? We know what that is. It's the tinkling tree. Oh, the tinkling tree's telling me something. Oh, look! My fingers are twinkling. Ooh. I think your fingers are twinkling too. Just a little bit. Can you see your fingers twinkling? Look! My nose is wrinkling. Ooh, I think your nose is wrinkling too.